Alright, gonna attempt to record the creation of a song from beginning to end using a lot of Unison tools. I'll be using some others, but I want to demonstrate some of these tools. So, kind of show my workflow, I guess, a little bit. I started off with a template. The template has all of my Unison tools and some stuff I like to use, like Splice Bridge, because I'll have some Splice samples I'll bring in mainly for vocals. I've got some Serum in here because I love to use Serum. Awesome plugin. So typically what I try to do is I find something that inspires me. I'm moving stuff around while I'm talking. It's a bad habit, but I look for a sound or something that inspires me. I've got a ton of samples and stuff that I've downloaded over time. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just go through and play some of these samples, see if I find something that inspires me. Right now I'm just filtered on the key of F. That's kind of funky. Maybe a bit too much. Oh, you know what? I'm filtered on riser. I was in there going, damn, I'm getting a lot of risers. Go ahead and clear that out. Because right now I'm just looking for stuff in the key of F. I'm looking for F minor, actually. But let's see. Let's check my Unison stuff and see what I got. I'm looking for stuff particularly in F minor, but for some reason it's showing me other stuff too. So now I'm just going to do a search on F minor. I'm going to take this note frequency off because these all contain F minor. Kind of dig that. Alright, let's do it. Let's try that. Too fast. Let's see, what did Ableton think it was? 102. What was the original beat per minute on that? Doesn't say, but doesn't really matter. I'll take this and drag it. It's okay, but I don't like this gap. turn off quantize, whatever. Cut that out. I don't like it. That happens. Thought it sounded kind of cool in here, but You know what, let's do this and let's just mess with it a lot. It says up in here it's 120. What does Ableton think it is? 88. Gotta love it. I'm just gonna extend it out until the happened until the BPM shows 120, what it really is, because I got warp turned on, so it should it's too long though. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the metronome just to see what it how it lines up. Not at all. There we go. It was just because it had this long trailing back end. Ableton didn't know what to do with the beat per minute. Alright. Going to extend this out over 4. Loop is on. Turn my snap back on. There's kind of a little hesitation in there, which I guess kind of humanizes it, but not really what I'm looking for. It's because got a little bit of a gap with an overlay here. That's because I had snap turned off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn snap back off. I'm going to decrease that just a little bit, and then I'm going to extend it to the edge of the bar. There we go. All right, zoom back out. Delete those. And extend that back out. Let's hear how that sounds. There we go. That's better. All right, now let's mess with it. Let's do some Serum effects on top of this. Add, let's do hyperdimension. All right, I want to put some panning in there, so I'm going to add an audio channel. And my in is going to be track number 9, which is the one I was just on. And I'm going to set that to record. And I know there's ways to do automation with this, but not so good at it, so I'm just going to do it manually. So let's just go ahead and set it to... Actually, I need to turn my mic off because it will pick it up. Turn off the other track. All right, now let's add in something like dark and ominous that comes in here. You know what, I think... Bring in some Moog. That sounds kind of cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, extend out my loop so I've got some more room for recording. Turn my snap back on. All right. Start from the beginning here. I turn off my mic. All right, that was kind of cool. The last part. Let's see, I think it's from there. Bring that in so it's the right length for a loop. Let's see how that sounds. Let's add in some chords. We definitely have a conflict there. I believe I'm in the wrong key. So if you ever are doing this where you're writing a song and you use a sample or something, you're like, oh crap, I'm in the wrong key. There's a plugin that's really good. And it's called Key Detector. And what you do is you drag Key Detector, the stereo, into your main, and wait for it to launch. And then it's waiting for audio, so all it needs to hear, I'm going to turn off the metronome. And I'm just going to let it listen to, sometimes it can take it a minute. I'm just going to let it listen to this part. Actually, I'm going to turn off. No, I'll let that stay on. right, so it is saying it's F minor. Something important about this plugin, though, it will add input delay because it's processing through the main. So when you're done using it, delete it. Otherwise, if you go to use an instrument, a physical instrument or whatever, it's gonna be laggy. Yeah, it's the way it's progressing. It is sounding really weird. Let's see. Is it a major progression? Is that what it's doing? I don't think it is. It should be a minor. Not sounding right. There we go. That matches up better. So that's one of the cool things about this is it's you can adjust the chording so that it kind of better matches what you're trying to accomplish. So let's go ahead and add that in there. And then we're going to turn Chord Genie off because we got what we wanted out of it. We don't want that piano sounding thing to play in the background. So now we've got the MIDI, but none of the things assigned to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign, take my filters off here into my favorites. We're going to add some Serum 2. And let's pick some kind of sound that, got some cool stuff from Splice. Let's do some kind of pad. I really like that. I cut out the Moog for right now because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to freeze and flatten the track. I'm going to freeze it because now I want to manipulate the sound itself. So what I want is a waveform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and I'm going to combine them. So we'll consolidate, and then we're going to take it, because it's a bit hot, take the levels down on that. I'm going to fade this in. Let's see how that sounds. Kind of merging them together here, so there won't be like a break. I like the sound, but I don't like the notes. feel like I'm getting closer. This is the fun. Almost there, but so when in doubt, let Splice knock it out. Let's go ahead and load up Splice, and let's browse instruments, synth bass, key of F minor, and let's do genre of tech house. That's techno. Tech house. Oh, it was right there. Not looking for anything ARPy. Actually, that might work. Kind of sounds like those tube that, like the Blue Man Group plays, those PVC tube instruments. jack those up. Turn off. Turn off Drum Monkey now because I don't need to hear him. I got the samples I needed out of him. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this across these 4 bars. Then I'm going to join. I'm going to group these tracks. I'm going to my favorites. I'm going to take a drum bus, put it into the group. I hear the drums really come out. It's getting kind of an industrial feel almost. I think we need some kind of build up into this. Like some kind of rumbling. I bet I'll find one better in techno, maybe even in dubstep. It's kind of cool. I think I can reuse this. I can reuse this some too. Let's stretch it out. When I said I could reuse this, make a copy of it, I'm going to shrink it back down. I'm just going to use a piece of it. Alright, I like that. I'm going to do those. I'm going to drop it down to its own swim lane here. Create a copy of it. And I'm going to add some delay. Just going to go with this out of the box delay here. All right, let's see what that sounds like. That's kind of cool. Let's see what it sounds like if I drop it down an octave. Maybe alternate. I'm going to do 2 on and 2 off. Just drop it down 12 on the pitch. 13 and 11. There we go. That's cool. Now let's go ahead and take this to end of the loop we're going to create. And actually what I should do is I should just go ahead and consolidate, so that way it's reusable easier without me having to move a whole bunch of stuff around. So let's put that there. And we're already at 2 minutes on this. This is too long. See, I got nothing above that, nothing below that. I'm going to move all of this up to the start. Consolidating this so I can blend it in. close. I like that piece. So I'm going to take that. That's it. Zoom in. Didn't get the whole thing, but I kind of like that. Alright, got that first note missed. It's because it's cut off. Come on. Make that the whole length. I don't want to record over it, so however you say it. Awesome. All right. All right. Let's hear it from the beginning. I like the bass. I don't like the rate. Change that. All right, I think that's going to work better. That's nice. It adds some depth. This blend to be a little smoother, where I piece together those choir vocals. some chords in. I'll assign an instrument to it here in a second. surprise, I'm going to use Serum. That's my battery. Go 4 bars at a time.
Open your eyes.
All right. Whew. All right. Go with some. Damn it. Some delay on that.
Open your eyes.
And let's bring back in. Oh, damn it. Switch mice because I can't find my battery. That over. Actually, we'll give that some time to resonate. And oh, come on, mouse. Go ahead and duplicate that.
Open your eyes.
Bass to go with that.
Open your eyes.
party wizard.
Open your eyes.
lot going on there. Didn't do a lot of talking, obviously. We're at about 3 minutes and 30 seconds almost. So I'm trying to wrap it up. I think I'll go out kind of the same way I came in. Let's see how this works out. It takes us to 4 minutes. It's a bit long.
Open your eyes.
Render out these two MIDI track, or this MIDI track, so I can fade it in and out easier without using automations. Not against using automations, it's just easier. Come on, paint it out. There you go. And now split it into two, so I'm going to consolidate. And that way we can go ahead and fade this one out along with the other one. They end at about the same. That MIDI, but I'm going to move it down to its own track. And I'm going to, that's right, use Serum. Already is. And let's make this freeze and flatten. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and consolidate. All right, that is the end. All right, now there's just mastering to do. I'm going to just do a quickie because this video's gone so long. And then once we get it mastered, I will play the whole thing one time through. I'm going to blend this in at the beginning instead of just starting right off. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my Ozone 11 and I'm going to drag this onto the master track. And I may come back in afterwards and do some additional stuff, but I just want to get the majority of it finished. So let's see.
Open your eyes.
I can't use this. I've used it in another one of my songs. It's the exact same bass line. Almost done. I thought it sounded familiar. All right, so let's just go ahead and pull up Bass Dragon one more time. Tell already it's going to be a little too loud. I'm going to adjust the waveform. especially because it's doubled up. All right, that'll work. All right, let's play it through one time. All right, we're just going to adjust the end a little bit sooner since I shut those loops down. All right, that's a wrap. I'll probably go back through and add some. I like to use Easy Mix 3 from Toontrack. I'll go through and tweak some of these tracks maybe and change the sounds a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much done, beginning to end. In one video, let's see, how long was the video? It's pretty damn long. But anyway, thanks for joining me. If you watch through the whole thing, you're a brave soul. It's a process, but still, I think it's under 2 hours, I have the good bones of a song created anyway. Take it easy.